What if a country got hit with a massive 50% US tariff? Not because of trade issues, but because of who it put on trial. That's exactly what just happened to Brazil. In early July, US leadership imposed one of the steepest tariffs in recent history, and the reason had nothing to do with economics. There was no trade imbalance, no dumping. In fact, the US runs a multi-billion-dollar trade surplus with Brazil. But the official explanation linked the penalty to Brazil's internal legal process, specifically, the prosecution of a former high-ranking official with close ties to US political circles. The letter cited concerns about digital censorship, the treatment of social media platforms, and what it called a broader threat to open dialogue. This marks a historic shift. Tariffs are no longer just tools to correct trade flows, they're now being used to respond to domestic legal and regulatory decisions abroad. And that shift has serious implications, not just for Brazil, but for every country negotiating with the United States. This isn't the first time trade tools have been used this way. In recent months, US officials have escalated tensions with countries proposing taxes or restrictions on digital platforms, including Canada, South Korea, and several members of the European Union. Now, many are asking, is this the start of a broader strategy where economic access is tied to political alignment? Because if trade penalties are no longer about trade, that changes how countries plan their legal systems, their regulations, even their foreign policy. It raises serious questions for allies and partners. Can a long-term agreement with Washington still be trusted? Or could it be reversed, not over tariffs or quotas, but over internal matters unrelated to trade? Global diplomats are taking notice. Some are exploring regional alternatives. Others are strengthening ties with China, the BRICS bloc, or trade agreements that don't rely on dollar flows. This isn't about turning away from the US. It's about hedging against volatility. Because when tariffs become unpredictable, so does the system built around them. We warned about this weeks ago when another country was threatened with trade penalties after passing a digital services tax. That story didn't get much attention, but it was the first signal of a new pattern. This latest move confirms it. Global markets are watching, so are policymakers. Because today it's Brazil. Tomorrow it could be any country that chooses to enforce its laws or regulate its platforms in ways that conflict with Washington's evolving priorities. And for ordinary people, business owners, online creators, or everyday consumers, these decisions affect more than just headlines. They shape the price of imports, the availability of apps, and the stability of global supply chains. The line between trade and politics is blurring. And if that line disappears completely, the entire structure of global commerce may have to be reimagined. Subscribe to Global Notes by JP if you want to follow how these shifts unfold without noise, bias, or spin. We focus on the macro trends that actually move the world. And if you haven't seen our breakdown on how digital taxes triggered the last wave of tariff threats, go watch it next. It connects directly to what's happening now. Because this trend is accelerating, and no country is immune.